All right, we're gonna have the first Lisbon Village budget public hearing tonight, and then we'll have a regular board meeting to follow. So we will open the budget public hearing at 6:32 PM. Roll call, please.
President Osterman.
Here.
And trustee Plotecker. Here. Trustee Moonen.
Here.
Trustee Quinn. Here. Trustee Beal is running late. Treasurer Gerard. Here. Administrator Nicholas. Here. And clerk Capazzo Catch to record the minutes.
Thank you. Stand for the pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, item 4 is the open meetings law compliance check.
The budget public notice was published on October 25th and November 1st in the Waukesha Freeman and was placed on Lisbon's website. And the agenda was posted on our posting boards and on the website on November 3rd.
Thank you. Item 5 is the 2024 budget presentation by village administrator.
Okay, so I'm gonna make it kind of short. I wanted to point out that the 2023 the Village of Lisbon residents will pay the exact same rate as they did on their town tax rate. So the tax rate for 2024 is 2023 is taxes are $2.99 per thousand. So it's the exact same as last year. Lisbon has grown through grown our tax base, and our increase was 57,083,942. General revenue budget is 7,389,003, using the tax levy of 4,817,205. We've had some changes since the notice. The general fund budget has been balanced. Balanced budget of balanced budget of 7,380,903. And the increase in expenditures was mainly due to changes in insurance and website fees, which amounted to $8,220. In the TID budget, that is also balanced at $158,729. There was a small change due to insurance. The stormwater budget is also balanced at $251,782. A small change was made in revenue of $49, removing stormwater from 2 detached parcels. So the capital projects for 2024 is the codification of village code, building improvements in the fire, highway, and water departments, of vehicle hoist, pickup truck to replace the DPW track, skid steer, which is a replacement of another skid steer, paving of $500,000, and a park UTV replacement. So in front of you, you have the next page is the budget summary with those changes that I just mentioned. And third page has the breakdown of the revenue sources and gives you the breakdown with a chart. So if you so choose, We've got the amounts of the budget, general fund budget, again, of 7,389,003, the capital budget of 852,500, the debt service budget of $1,558,452, stormwater budget of $251,782, the capitalist budget of $45,555, the utility budget of $465,842, and the tax increment district budget of $489,280. That's all I have for presentation.
All right. At this time, we'll open up for public comments on the proposed 2024 budget. Anything from the board, first of all, any questions? Linda? Paul, anything for you?
No, good job. Thank you.
Linda, anything? Mark?
No.
Becky?
No.
All right. Is anyone in the public here here for the budget public hearing? No, anyone on Zoom? It's gonna be an easy budget public hearing. Well, if there is no questions or comments, then I'll close the budget public hearing at 6:39. We have to have a motion to adjourn this one? It'll lead us into our regular village board meeting agenda. We've already done call to order and the pledge of allegiance tonight, so we'll move into citizens' comments. 6:39 part of this one. Is there anyone here wish to make citizens' comments? Please step up to the mic, state your name and address, please.
Good evening. Nice to see you here tonight. My name is Todd Hesselberg. I live on Tomahawk Drive, West 256, North 9285 Tomahawk. And I'm here with pertaining to the hillside traffic speed limit. Just as a reminder. So as I had spoken at the prior meeting with this bill coming forward to here, I just wanted to go through some of the issues again. Number one, there has been no road reconstruction nor construction work which changes Hillside Road, except for the roundabout, which is a good idea. The speed limit on Hillside was 45 miles an hour for as long as I've been living here, except for that brief period when the board was going to repair the Bark River Bridge a few years ago. I've been living at my location for 25 years. And at that time, when they had lowered the speed limit for that bridge reconstruction, it was at 35 for a period of time. I called in saying, well, when are you going to bring it back up? Well, the road is going to be, or the bridge was going to be reconstructed, but it never was. And the speed limit was brought back up because they were receiving a lot of complaints. I was told the speed limit was to be changed because it was recommended by Washington County project overseers. But in reality, they were recommended a speed limit change to 35 miles an hour for the area between Norwalk Road and north to the roundabout. They had not suggested nor required that the entire 1.5 miles of road, which was changed recently to 35, the speed limit of 45 to be reduced for the approachment to the roundabout. Since the change of 35 miles an hour, I've seen an increase in presence of traffic police at the bottom of the hill, both north and south of the hill. This area of the road is again now more of a speed trap for local area drivers and also pass-through people. The people normally prefer less delays traveling, and lowering to 35 is not helpful. The segment of road is 1.5 miles long. And it's not too short to be maintained at 45 miles an hour. It may seem, and I was getting some people saying that for consistency's sake, that we wanted to make it 35 all the way up to Highway Q. But that's a long distance. There's the steep hill there, downhill. Again, there's been no changes to the access of that, maybe one road, I think, down near the swamp, but otherwise, there's not been really any changes that are required for a reduction to 35 miles an hour. I think that's about all I was concerned about. I just wanted to be here to remind you that bringing it back to 45 is the best way, I think. So I appreciate your efforts in doing so. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lucy Hesselberg. Live at W256 and 9285 Tomahawk Drive. So our subdivision is at the top of the hill and west of the hill. And so you go out of your subdivision and go down either side of the hill. You can get nailed by cops. And since they previously did this, I got a ticket, went to the courtroom. It was filled with like about 100 people that got tickets when they were repairing the bridge. I see that as unlawful taxation through tickets. And now they're doing it again. And I have seen police on both sides of the hill, not at the top of the hill, not sitting on North Lisbon Road or anything, but at the bottom of the hill. You can be at 35 miles an hour at the top of that hill, and by the bottom of the hill, you're over 45. So it's not right for just mainly the people who come and go in that subdivision to be taxed through these tickets. And it's also there, you know, when we spoke before the other committee, there are lots of people here asking for police to be present to slow down the traffic on their roads for their school children. So put the speed limit back up to 45, move the police over to that problem, and you make a lot of people happy in our subdivision. There's a few of us here tonight. There are more at the other meeting, all asking that you move the speed limit back up to 45. There was concern that we match, you know, the other side of Q. They have 35 until shortly after the roundabout, and then their speed limit goes back up too. There is no dropping the speed on Q before you enter the roundabout on either way. It's 45 coming and going. So why we have to do it? I understand we have a couple subdivisions right there. Not a problem, but after their recommendation, I think it should be back to 45. I respectfully ask that you lift it back up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, Henry Cook, W256 and 9236 Tomahawk Drive. Very briefly, again, the same issue on the speed limit on Hillside Road. We've lived there about 35 years. It's been 45. There's been no major issues there with accidents, so there's been no concerns. Originally, as I understand, it was reduced to 35 because of the roundabout construction, which I understand. That's for short term. But with that being complete, now as Lucy, another friend of mine mentioned, that as you hit that hill especially, in fact, I put my cruise control at 30 miles per hour. You can't keep that on the way down. Car doesn't do it. You're going to hit 45. And to be trapped there by a traffic cop, I think is unfair. And lastly, I would ask you to vote in favor of putting it back to 45 as it had been. It had been safe, and I think that's the way it should be. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
I wrote it down tonight. My name is Mary Cook, KOCA, West 256, North 9236, Tomahawk Drive. And I'd just like to say that I have really tried to keep, you know, the 35 speed limit, and I do maintain it, but the only way I can do it is, you know, by hitting the brakes, cutting down the hill, number one. Number two, the people behind me do not appreciate that. And I really do. I keep it at 35. And, you know, I don't think it's worth the road rage that people have nowadays for that, number one. That they may still do it at 45, but I think that we need to all drive responsibly. Especially in the winter time, you know, yeah, I'll go slower down, so I don't have to hit the brakes. You know, so that, it's icy, you know, you don't go off the road. And people, yeah, they may go around, but I think at 45, it was that before, there weren't any problems with it. And I think there will be less irritated people. Thank you, so I appreciate it. Also, the increase it to 45. Actually, it'd be really nice to take it all the way down to, what is it, town line? That would be great, but I know the Friday farm is there, so I don't know if that needs to be, but that would be really nice if we could just be consistent, because right now it goes 35, and then you get down to Friday, and you're hitting the brakes, and you're going too fast, and you're constantly hitting the brakes all the way down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Tarks, W227 and 5945 Linwood Drive, the Circle Park Crest subdivision. I stand here tonight to ask that you do not consider adding sewer connection to the proposed utility project slated for next year in the Circle Park Crest subdivision. By adding sewer connection to my residents, you'll be effectively pricing me out of living in this neighborhood and the village. In my house that I have spent time and money updating. This will place my family and our household in financial duress. In addition, very little information has been shared with the residents of the subdivision. The preliminary cost of $44,166 for my residents, as indicated by the Public Works and Utility Committee meeting agenda, September 20, 2023, will cost an extra $736 per month over the 5-year assessment period. This does not include the loan interest or the 1% interest increase set by the village in ordinance 2023-19. At a 7% interest rate, we are now at $891 per month for the 5-year period. Monthly cost for sewer and water is approximately $85, $41 in service fees, and at $455 per thousand for water, $575 per thousand for sewer, based on an average of 4,300 gallons per month of a family of 4. I am now at $976 per month for 5 years. The value of our home will not cover the cost or increase by the approximately $45,000 plus interest to recover the cost of adding sewer. I understand the convenience of adding sewer while the road is being torn up for water, but in this economic time of uncertainty, increasing interest rates, increasing costs of goods and services, this is not the time and is fiscally irresponsible. All of these costs do not include the landscaping, the decommissioning of my brand new mound system, and the potential damage to our brand new driveway. I understand that you have difficult decisions to make on a regular basis. This is not a difficult decision to make. I understand that water is an issue. I have no doubt that water is an issue. The 660-foot well dug at my neighbor's house, the 2 that are being dug this week, the 6 that were done last month, I understand that water is an issue. Sewer is not an issue. My new mound system cost approximately $18,500 when it was installed in 2019, $26,500 less than the cost of putting in sewer. I'd like to thank you for your time and your consideration. I can be reached at 262-370-4784 if you have any questions or would like to discuss this any further. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this is the first time every single person in the audience had a comment. Anyone in Zoom? It looks like there's all our people there. Thanks. Move to the consent agenda then. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a village board member requested an item be removed for separate consideration. We have the August tenth, 2023 village board minutes. Pay request number 2 to Wander Construction for the water main extension in the amount of $18,542.99. Ordinance 2023-20 to restore Hillside Road speed limit to 45 miles per hour, except 1,020 feet south of the roundabout. And item D, the 2-lot certified survey map for North 67 West 22070 McLaughlin Road, LSBT 0240.992.003.
Front of you have a possible motion.
Does anyone wish to have anything removed, or do you want to take everything in one shot?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda, including all plan commission recommendations and conditions where applicable.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second made by Paul, second by Linda. Discussion?
Okay.
I just have a couple quick comments on it. I just looked up the citations and I'm in favor of going to 45 miles an hour. I'm just gonna tell you. I was on the board when I went back and forth the first time, but we issued 46 citations all of September and 42 citations all of October. You guys are just gonna have to use your brakes on the hill, because you can use the same argument from 35 or 45. That's why we have brakes. But I am in favor of going to the 45. But any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Item 5, accounts payable. Authorizing the payment of the Falls Auto Parts bill dated 10/25 for $265.88 and 11/3 for $296.13. Any questions, or is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion that we, authorize payment of the Falls Auto Parts bills dated 10/25.
Moved by Becky, is there a second? Second. Second by Mark, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item B, authorizing the payment of the remaining bills dated 10/25 for $903,455.93 and 11/3 for $102,275.64.
That's our top 5 expenses. Were $19,781.40 for Wander Construction, $254,785.87 for Peterson. $92,553.23 for US Bancorp. $58,936.66 for Western County Treasurer, $79,110.25 for Mike Home Construction. Then the other payroll was, the other AP was $37,345 for others, and $1,579.24 for rear building inspection, $18,520. $42.99 for lumber construction, $5,437 for municipal law and enforcement, and $5,000 for construction services. I ask for your approval.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, or is there a motion on the check register?
I make a motion on both amounts presented on 5B.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Second by Becky. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item C, authorizing the payment of the utility district bills dated 11/2 for $24,669.25.
The largest few items on there was Temple Engineering for $8,960.50. And village assessment for the treatment maintenance facility for $11,041.81. The full report was emailed to you by earlier.
All right, any questions or comments, or is there a motion?
I guess I have a question.
Mike is on.
Okay, hi, Mike. With Conkle Engineering, what is that for? What area, please? Is that for, like leads over there, or what is that for? Is that for the new subdivision?
primarily for the new subdivision.
Are those amounts set aside? So when they do get sewer, they will add to the cost over there, or who pays for that subdivision? Are
Well,
you-
right now, the utility is paying for the,
I know that. I know utilities paying for it. I'm just saying, is it one of those expenses that when we spend money on something like that over there, it'll be added to the cost? When,
but in accordance with the old sanitary service code, it would be added to the cost.
okay, that's all I
Keep
need
in
to.
mind that some of the conflict, had to do with the works at the school. And then those types of things and work on
Right, but
other work other than just, the
I understand that, Kathy, but we just want to clarify that those costs for the new sewer, if they get it, it's a running list, correct? Mhm. Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
All right, is there a motion on this?
I make a motion, we approve as presented, A, B, and C.
Just C,
See,
Oh, C, I'm sorry.
so just C, motion
Yeah.
is for C. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, announcements and correspondence. We have the Public Works and Utility Committee meeting on Wednesday, November 15th at 5 PM at the Village Hall. We have public hearings and Plan Commission meeting on Wednesday, the 29th at 6:30 PM at the Richard Young Fire Station. We have Parks Committee meeting then, Wednesday, December 13th at 5 PM at the Village Hall. And then the Village Board meeting on Wednesday, December 13th at 6:30 PM at the Village Hall. Any other announcements or correspondence?
I just want to let you know that I cannot come to the meeting on the 13th.
That's gonna be 2 of us.
Really? I can't come.
We may have to reschedule that one. Unless you guys want to do it 3. We'll have to talk about it.
Mhm.
When it's Becky chair.
Oh,
I
you're
think
so
I
good
won't be
at it.
able to come either, so.
All right. Item 7, administrator report.
all right, so I mostly worked on the proposed budget and the presentation, new code for the sewer project continues. Started looking for performances for the community festival. Sent letters, set up interviews, contacted municipalities for the compensation study. We're using the Quick Trip donations for the sheriff, that they donate to the sheriff. To purchase 2 commander boards, worked on a few prelim audit papers, just a few. Started collecting data on new housing form, which is required to be placed on the website, and that's something new for us. As a village, you have to update this specifically, it has to be named, the new housing, report, so. I've been working on getting that, collecting that information with Brian. We received a contract to keep the lease, price of the block cameras down to $2,500 for the next 5 years, and if we're not going to, if we're going to continue using that, that would save us about $1,000 each year for the next 5 years at minimum. So if you are planning on keeping the flag, I'll sign it and move it forward, but it's, needs to be taken care of by December. I, asked the sheriff deputy to help at the compost on Saturdays from 8:30 to 9:30 for the last 3 weeks. The compost was open, to make sure that residents aren't blocking both sides of Plainview. We had some problem with that, and I'm continuing to remind staff to use their vacation, as they'll lose it if it's over 80. At the end of the year. We currently have 6 employees that have hours over 80, 1 as low as 0.7 and 1 as high as 25 hours. Salt and compost buildings are complete. The clerk department report, deputy clerk attended advanced badge book election training at the county. Clerk and deputy met with HR Gov to review their job description. Deputy clerk continued to work on uploading documents to Laserfish, and continuing document completion and updates for the 2024 elections, including candidate applications. for highway, they mowed, highway division mowed the Lisbon property on Richard Road, the retention pond area on Lee's Lane, that's something new, both of those were looking pretty ratty, and now that we have actual businesses in there, it's nice to get those cleaned up. Replace the culvert on Plainville Road, completed the electric and lighting in the salt shed, cut the trees on Tomahawk Drive, within Thousand Oaks, and Colgate Road and residential. So Parks Division staff installed surface at Stone Family and Stony Hope for Steel's staff performed restoration work around the new hydrant at LCP, and they installed that hydrant as well. And they blew out all the water lines at LCP and at Memorial Park. DPW director worked with staff to complete the electric and lighting in the salt shed, created a curb and gutter list and map for road sweeping, and screened all Lisbon outfalls and documented observations for the MS4. The sheriff did 94 traffic stops, 42 citations, 37 verbal warnings, 47 times assisted fire EMS, 60 building checks. And there were 14 911 hangups and 16 alarms and 24 follow-up investigations. When I wrote the report, I didn't have the fire, but I did send all of the reports to the fire department. That's my report.
Any questions for Kathy?
I have two questions, Kathy. It says here, the Quick Trip donations. Could you tell us how much that is?
So, the trip for both locations, gave the sheriff, our police services, $1,000 each, so $2,000.
Okay, okay. And then also, and I know we talk about the flock cameras and stuff, but we don't really get a report unless I'm missing it. We don't really get a report to see, you know, what good it's doing. Is it helping? Is it not? Or it's just, you know what I'm saying? I think I'd like to see a report on that.
I will have him draw a report for the next, or I'll have him draw a report and I'll send it to you.
Yes, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
Asking for the success report.
I'm sorry, what?
They collect the success report whenever the activity is used.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Have you heard of anything in the area?
Oh, yeah. They use it there,
In our area, in the town here?
all over the country.
Well, I was just gonna talk about the town, what's going on, no, the village. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions for Kathy? All right, item 8, treasurer report.
Okay. I will start off with training efforts and then general updates before we go down to the financials. I attended the Fall Treasure Conference in September on $100 scholarship. And I was also assigned a mentee for 2024 through Municipal Treasurers Association of Wisconsin, where I will earn points for my treasurer certification, and I plan to apply for certification next year. Now that Jasmine is trained on helping with deposits, I plan to train Lisa next. And the preliminary audit work papers are due at the end of this month. Lisa's finishing a couple items, then we're done with the exception of final auditor requests on November 29th. We plan to finalize tax bills around Thanksgiving, then complete the preliminary audit, which will put us in a good position workload wise for tax payment drop off in December and year-end efforts in January. Regarding tax updates, the inserts are complete. The final proof will be sent tomorrow, and the new budget charts will show residents, Lisbon's revenue sources, and then also spending. We will be adding the county recycling flyer, which is paid for by the county. And Kathy and I are working through special charges, which we had reconciled with the county for stormwater. And I will be finalizing that by the end of this week for garbage. We are awaiting final values before we can approve the tax bills and then send them to that. Waukesha State Bank tax account rate negotiations are finalized. So I just got that offer this week, and they will
they will extend the LGIP rate match again this year. So that's great news. We should be earning over 5% through the December, January, and February tax season on all those deposits. You know, that's obviously assuming rates remain stable, but currently we're at 5.37% in LGIP. That's as of October. So moving on to the financial position, so I will speak to the summary document in your packet, and then the back will be the investments. And as always, I include the detailed report, so if you want to review any categories on that summary report, you may. And then any questions, just let me know and I can look into account specifics for you. So just speaking to the top revenues, as of the end of September, we've received 100% of our budgeted revenues. The key callouts are interest income and the Quick Trip land sale. That is located in the middle of the page under other financing sources. That was close to 750,000. And so if you include the land sale, then we're at 112% currently. Upcoming revenues down at the bottom, approximately 418,000 in aids, including the 4A payment. So total expenditures account for 64% of the budget as of September 30th. And if you include the sinking funds transfer, we're at 72%. Upcoming debt payments taking us through year end. The November one is about 6,000 in interest. You'll notice the departments are in healthy positions at that 9-month mark. So if you look at under expenditures all the way over to the right, the percent spent, you'll notice, like I said, they're healthy. And then let's move on to investments. So the total is 10.83 million as of September 30th. The total interest earned for Q3 is just under 153,000. Our interest income is decreasing just slightly due to spending, but not drastically since rates are steady. And I did just look at, you know, the interest rates for our amount, our total for October is around 45,000. So just a little bit lower than September due to spending. We've earned nearly 3.7 times last year's total interest in 9 months. So I'm working on long-term predictable income planning. I opened a CD at Town Bank. That's the new one listed in the middle of the page for 5.13%. So now Waukesha State Bank and Town Bank are more equal in terms of our investment portfolio. The majority of our funds are in LGIP as that has the highest earning potential. I'm keeping close eye on the rates. LGIP and money markets are still earning higher yields than CDs right now. When that changes, I'll work to secure more CDs, and I have opened at both of the banks, and it takes about a week, so I'll be able to do that quickly. Let's see. I will need to negotiate some rates. You'll notice the 2 CDs for Waukesha State Bank are at 4%. So I will be working on negotiating for January 2024 renewal. As previously mentioned, due to TID bills, I've been keeping the funds very liquid. So LGIP rate has supported this strategy. Are there any questions?
I thank you for watching all the rates. Is that a special rate that villages get and stuff? Like the common person can't go in there?
There are some government type rates, but a lot of times it's, you know, I'm sure that the bankers are looking at, you know, what they can specifically give us.
Okay.
But a lot of times you can get that same rate, you know, privately.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Those 2 for CDs at Waukesha State Bank, are we looking to move them at the end of the day?
We are not, I've had mixed information on whether they're held for collateral.
Because it seems like Town Bank pays more
Mm-hmm.
at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
But they were renewed at, that was a really high rate back in January of 2023.
okay.
So we'll see what Waukesha State Bank comes up with.
If they meet the other one,
Right,
okay.
that's usually, they usually try to rate match, our other bank.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Item 9, Utility District Quarterly Report. Mike?
So revenues are pretty much right where we expected them to be. The one exception is the interest income, because of the rates are being so improved. We're well ahead of the budget for interest income. The only expense area that we are really way over budget is in repairs and maintenance. But that's always kind of a hard one to predict, but I think we're gonna, overall, we look at the overall budget. Our revenue over expenses are $16,000. For the year, we expected operations to lose about $5,000, so we're gonna be in the area where we need to be. All right, the rest of the report is pretty standard. It shows that we still have let's see here, unrestricted funds of $492,000, and our restricted funds for plant replacement is $481,000. Are there any other questions?
No, no questions, Mike. All right.
Your next, Mike, do you want to talk about the list of delinquents?
The delinquencies?
Right.
Okay, every year, first of November, we prepare a list of delinquencies. Letters were sent out in October for those people that were delinquent. And in that list, we send to them, give them to November 1st to make the payment to avoid a 10% penalty that gets added. So we did add the 10% penalty on November 1st, and you have a schedule there that shows that we added approximately $1,600 in penalties. Anything that is not paid by November 15th, any of these accounts that are not paid by November 15th, the delinquent amount, as well as the 10% penalty, will be sent over to the county treasurer for inclusion on a property tax bill.
So are some of these properties, I'm just trying to fill in some blanks, the properties that were that we gave them a backdated bill or that paid 2 years back?
No, because the last backdated bill was really sent out on October 1, so it really wasn't considered delinquency under state statute. But the others bills have been paid.
All the other ones have been paid?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Mike, it's Linda here. Is this comparable to what we did last year as far as people not paying on time their sewer bills? Because I'm trying to remember how many last year.
No, the delinquency list is down from last year. Last year, we were in the 70s, number of
Right.
customers that had been delinquent. This year, it's down in the 50s.
Okay. I'm trying to think what Menominee Falls charges. I want to say 25%. Maybe I'm wrong there.
No, I mean, as far as the delinquency, the 10%, that's a state statute for that penalty that's added.
Okay, then it's something else on there, but okay, thank you. As long as we get up to date on that.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Item 10, new business, A, discussion and necessary action regarding approval of the 2024 village budget. We've had it presented, we've discussed. Only thing left to do now is approve it. Is there a motion?
There is a motion on the bottom of your page for.
Budget summary page.
The breakdown page?
Papers this week. I'll make a motion to approve the following budget as presented in the 2024 budget summary. General fund budget, $7,380,903. Capital budget, $852,500. Debt service budget, $1,558,452. Stormwater budget, $251,782. Compost budget, $45,555. Utility, $465,842. TID budget, $489,280. That's it.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
By Becky? Any discussion?
I have a question. What's the garbage charge this year?
I'm still working with Candy.
Is this the last year under the contract we have with the garbage people?
24, yes.
Thank you.
I've got it on my schedule to start talking about that. in June.
Oh, okay.
You want to start sooner.
Yeah.
It was holy cow last week. Yeah. And whoever we decide to go with, if they don't do certain things, they're gonna need a lot of time to figure it out.
I can get it started for sport.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Item B, discussion necessary action regarding approval of ordinance 2023-17 non-metallic mining reclamation.
So, your package, you have information on, the reclamation ordinance. The process is that, I first have to, write it, send it to the they review it to make sure that all the things that are in statute are properly addressed in the ordinance. They have done that. They made a couple of changes. I made those changes on here. There's a fee schedule, that's an exhibit that if the fees, increase, we can just change the exhibit instead of it being written into the code directly. What this is going to allow us to do is do the reclamation plan ourselves. So then with working with our quarries, so we can work to the betterment of our own residents. So right now, the county does it, they get the revenues from it every year. And I think that this is a good opportunity for us to bring this in-house, can be done by the administrator working with the court.
Does this give us more control on the reclamation plan than two?
Yes.
I mean,
Business.
I don't want a landfill. Probably the biggest thing there for me. Where before, the county would have had control over that.
That's, this takes it back.
Okay. Questions from the board? Paul, anything?
What kind of revenues are you talking about?
About 10 grand,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
about 10 grand. in revenues.
Yeah, because I was looking at the last
And this
page.
budget is not in this budget that was passed, because I'm not sure if it's, if we get paid retroactively. So I think the 24 budget will be there, but I'm not sure if we were, I mean, 25 budget, it would be there, but I don't know if we were actually get it for 24, because we're right on that deadline.
So it would be approximately 10 revenues or any expense applied to that?
Just was the time the administrator. So what we have to do is review different parts of the reclamation plan. We have to continually upgrade the amount that they set aside for roads. So if their road, if they say that the reclamation plan, they're gonna put in, 30 miles of road. It's 5 miles of road. And the cost of roads now are gonna be different in 3 years. The cost of per mile is gonna go up, and we have to assess that and then let them know how much more they need to set aside in their estimate. Cover the cost.
Okay. Good to know.
Mark, any questions? Was this ordinance pushed by our legal staff as far as reviewing the rain ordinance?
They did not, he did not review the ordinance. Just the union. I used use Sussex as an example. And then I sent it to the DNR and share everything was in proper order. But he did not look to see if it was in proper form. That's happy to do that. Trying to get it in time to get to the county, get to the state, you get to the county, so we can take it over.
When do we have to notify them? What's the last day, the end of the year?
Usually it's done, we'd like to get it done this month, so then we can possibly get the revenues from 23. We push it through end of the year, so we have paid for the revenues to the counties.
Okay, great, thank you.
Becky?
They pay these fees every year?
They pay a 14 minutes every year, yes, they pay for their full review if they have a brand new reclamation plan. So like right now, we have one that's going to start a new reclamation plan. And so that one, they pay just for the review, and then they pay their yearly. Yes,
Oh, okay.
everybody pays yearly.
I didn't know if you paid them when you came up with a new plan or.
That too. So you pay one for the review of the plan, and then one annually.
Okay,
So is this done on an annual basis, or if we didn't get it done,
This year, then we
have to wait till next year?
yeah, well, once we got it in, then we would, whenever we get it in, then the next full year is when we get the review process. So we get.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea. We do this, obviously. I do want to review it by the attorney before it goes off of my part. I'm okay with approving it subject to the approval of the attorney, but I definitely want them to take a look at it.
I agree.
I saw him today, and he can look at it, but never had time. Never gave us one. So I'll get it on his plate.
There's no substantive, big changes, and for myself, I'd be good with it. Anything else from anyone? Is there a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-17 non-metallic mining reclamation ordinance subject to attorney approval.
I second.
All right, moved by Mark, seconded by Linda. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, item C, discussion necessary action regarding resolution 2023-07, a policy for managing a fund balance in the Lisbon Utility Fund.
Right, so I did have this reviewed by the attorney, and the only thing that he asked me to just verify was the percentages that our auditor still is good with the percentages. I'll give like one reading to the percentages are still allowable.
Any questions? Linda, anything?
Yeah, what, this, I'm a little confused as far how much money that the utility has from the old sewer commission. You know, are we dealing with less, because,
So, what this fund does,
Mhm.
this,
400 some thousand,
does, is it says that if you have
restricted,
unrestricted funds of so much, 40% of what your next year's budget is, that it would go into a restricted account.
okay, okay,
That's all it does.
okay. All right,
And you can, the board still has the ability to remove it from
yeah, I read that,
unrestricted
yeah.
to another, it's just that we don't own unrestricted funds of too much.
Here I'm thinking of all the things that we've done all the years and we've never had anything like this.
Just trying to get it.
Oh, I know, I appreciate that. I'm amazed.
Mike, do you want to reiterate to kind of the same message you sent at the committee meeting about why this is important to do?
The funds that we have right now, the only restricted funds that we have are being restricted for the plant replacement. And then any of the cash and refund balances beyond that are unrestricted. And the unrestricted funds are almost 100% of the annual budget, which would be considered in most cases to be more than needed. So the ordinance that's being reviewed is saying, okay, we're going to set that unrestricted balance at somewhere between 25 and 40% of the next year's budget, and the rest of it will become restricted, and it's restricted in its use by the board, and only the board can reverse that restriction by a 2/3 vote.
Paul, any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Becky?
Nope.
All right, I don't have any questions either.
If you want to make a motion with the same type of motion we made subject to the attorney, do I make it subject to the auditor? I'm just gonna check with the auditor.
Say that for you.
If you'd like to, as we did in the last one, to have the approval subject to the attorney, this one could be subject to the auditor, so that I can get, if you so choose, because I'm going to ask the auditor if the percentages. If they find the percentages to be acceptable.
Just the 25 and 40.
Then let's make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-07. To establish a policy for managing a fund balance in the Lisbon Utility Fund, subject to the auditor's review of the 25 to 40%.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Paula. Any discussion?
Doesn't this have to be also okayed by Attorney Macy?
He did already.
Oh.
This one you
Okay.
did review. Any other questions?
Mm.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item D, discussion and necessary action regarding tentative timeline for Circle Crest Park utility service.
So we discussed this in the Public Works and Utility meeting, and we thought I'm not asking for any motion, I just wanted to, it's really open for discussion. We have on the table today, we awarded the vendor for geoteching and find out where the depth of the rock is throughout the area. That we did today. We'd like to send out letters to the public that the field work is being done. both by Kunkel as well as, doing the geotech work. Just to review the area. Then on January 17th, we have a public works meeting. The final report, the geotech report, and Kunkel will have their bid docs approved or correct. And then on the 14th, we come to you for approval of the bid docs to send out from Kunkel. Then the 20th and 27th would be notice in the paper. March 8th would be bid opening. The 13th would be approval of the assessment resolution for the project. Specific to the project, and award the vendor for the construction. Letters to the residents with preliminary special assessments. That's the first time we're going to have the special assessments. Preliminary numbers, and notice of availability will be in that letter for the engineers to discuss one by one of anybody that wants to go through and talk about where the best area for the types of needs that go into their house. Then on April 3rd, public hearing for the preliminary special assessments. Then April 10th. Approval of special assessment and award to the vendor on construction project, and then after that, when the project is complete, final assessment will be sent out to the property owners after the project. So it's kind of a tentative timeline. We want to make sure that we get notice to the public on what's going on. Drilling and checking things, so we want to get a letter out to them. I don't know, Mark, if you had something more to say.
Yeah, and we had a lot of discussion at the committee level about how to lay out a proper timeline, and we did consider the opportunity to have a public meeting at the beginning of the project. Unfortunately, collectively, we found that we had the opinion that the meeting would be held to say it's happening, which most all the people know at the water level, it's starting. But we felt that it wouldn't be a successful meeting in the sense that that's all we could tell people, because if you've been following the project, these numbers have been moving. There's a lot of assumptions being made as far as project costs and what's going to be borne upon the utility and the village, as well as individual property owners. And we just felt it would be best to send out a letter to introduce the project, just to tell people why contractors are going to be present in their neighborhood and what they're going to be doing at that point. But later on down the timeline, you'll see there is actually a public meeting to actually go through and have better, I guess, a better footing on what the cost would be. The utility is still working through a code, and we have to, the utility committee as well as the board is gonna have to make some difficult decisions on what the policy is gonna be as far as should sanitary sewer automatically go in with water, should it be separate? There's gonna be a lot of discussion down the road that has to happen, and that's kind of why we laid the timeline out the way it is. Not that the committee or the board is intending to hide anything, it's just that we felt it'd be better to address it when we have the actual information rather than speculative information.
Questions for you, Becky?
So in this timeline, besides, on April 3rd, where there's a public hearing for preliminary special assessments, where is the public meeting to explain what's going on? I mean, did you not say there was going to be a public hearing, or or a public meeting?
I think Jeff can.
So, so we have a area, we didn't put a timeline on it, or we didn't put a specific date on it when the meeting was gonna be, because we want to, we're hoping to have the approval of a special assessment resolution by March 13th, but if we don't, we can't move forward on preliminary numbers. So, we don't have a specific date. We surely wouldn't want to put out a public date and have really not be prepared for. So, but we figured it would be after the special assessment resolution was approved by the board. So that would give us, give them the ability, at that point, a letter would be sent out, we'd set up the dates. A couple dates where the engineers, 2 or 3 engineers, he said, would be here at Village Hall, or we could set it up if necessary.
That's
Community
after
center.
everything's decided.
Well, it's just starting the process. Yeah,
Nothing's would be awarded until you get through the process.
But we're doing that after the bid opening?
so we do we have the, geotech report and the bid docs for the project on 17th of January, and then February 14th, we have, approved the bid docs. Between that time, the board is gonna have to make a decision which direction they want to go in. If they're gonna go water or water.
But
Well,
isn't,
that meeting has to happen before we do that.
Mm.
We gotta have a public hearing.
The
with these
public
people
meeting, yeah.
Before we do that.
there's one on here for the 17th of January, but that's so preliminary. There might not be much there, but at least they might get some of the questions
I
answered.
mean, there's no way we can be making decisions on this before we meet with these people.
Exactly.
No,
No, no,
we won't know on the sanitary side.
no.
Well, I think the bid docs go out, we're getting a bid for either just the water or the water and sewer. So we have to know that in advance, otherwise the bid docs are not.
We should have some kind of estimate before then, though.
Once the, realistically, there should be something in between January 17th and the February 14th.
Right.
Because once we get back the geotech reports, we're gonna know. I mean, Don's gonna be able to update his side of it to know what we're working with as far
Right.
as.
Cause if we geotech, if it comes back and it's,
We have no clue what the bedrock is at
Right.
depth.
but if the bedrock comes back and it's super shallow and it doesn't make sense to put sewer in. I mean, that's when we need to be having that discussion and talking with residents, not,
So you want one between, January 17th and February 14th, you'd like a public meeting.
potentially, I mean, for me, potentially, I think there has to be something.
I think we
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
get them
I
all
mean, I
updated.
guess I'd have to look back at the video where Don made comment on that, because it wasn't concrete as far as what we were able to tell people as far as a number.
Mhm.
Yeah, we won't have it's still going to be his estimates. It's not gonna be.
Definite.
the
Well, we're
only
not looking to
difference
give
is-
people a dollar, I mean, it's just a matter of keeping them informed at that point, I think.
Mhm.
So if you wanted to hear from all the residents, before you approve any kind of bid doc, that would be important to do. Before February 14th. Or we push the whole thing down a month. You wanted,
I mean, if I'm a resident there and I'm not having a meeting until after bid opening is going on, I'm coming in here and I'm roasting everybody.
I agree.
I'm coming in all guns firing, I'm gonna make hell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm with you.
Let's know what we're dealing with.
So I mean, if we're gonna keep them informed, let's keep them informed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would go back to the first word on the document, it's tentative, and I would expect this to get changed. I mean, this was a committee level draft that we put together.
Right, I get it, I just wanna make sure that this isn't,
yeah,
but it's not a rich subdivision, so to say. I mean, these people have a lot of them have limited funds, and this is really on their radar.
Mhm.
I mean, we've got subdivisions where they're $1 million homes, and this isn't it, and these people are gonna be very worried, and I just wanna make sure we're keeping their minds at ease of, hey, this is where we're at, and we don't know, I don't know is a completely acceptable answer if it's, but
Do-
we're working on it.
Do you think there's any grants out there at all because of the amount that we're talking about?
sewer grants.
Uh-huh.
Want to do some checking?
Mhm.
if this ground, if the stone wasn't so shallow, I mean, if you look at the subdivision, it's almost the most simple
Mhm.
thing on the planet for putting sewer, it's just bang and bam, but that stone is gonna be,
I know by us over there on Scott, they had a dynamite.
yeah, I mean, this would be,
Mhm.
I don't know where it's at, but talking to certain people, it sounds like that stone is potentially pretty,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, we got people drilling wells, they should be able to almost tell
Mhm.
where it was, but yeah.
Well, well, that was one of our discussions, but drilling a well in somebody's backyard to going out to the street is,
But if you're not hitting, if you're drilling in most majority of the wells, you're hitting stone at 10 feet. Pretty good chance that there's not gonna be any sewer going in anywhere anytime soon. But,
So you have you also have the ability, to go grinder pump versus straight lateral. So thinking that if the rock is high, it's gonna make a big difference.
Okay,
Correct. We'll be knocking it down some more.
perfect.
so no action on this.
There's
No.
no action, it's just
No.
for discussion, just to kind of get some feedback from.
and I guess I'll just throw this out there too. One challenge that we are facing at the committee level is that, the decisions have to, I guess, it's kind of almost like a ping pong game of committee to board, back to committee, back to board, so.
Joint.
One of the things that we had talked about was holding a joint meeting of the committee and, the board.
Mhm.
Just
That's a
to
good idea.
get
Explain.
that information quicker, because there's policy decisions going on when there's moving parts going on, and that's not necessarily ideal, but it's the current situation we're dealing with.
Mhm.
I think it's a great idea because a lot of the technical information is coming out in much more detail at your committee meetings, and I think we need to be there to hear
You
that.
all need to be updated too,
Yeah,
because people are gonna be calling.
Maybe
Oh,
at
yeah.
the January 17th, public works meeting, we could make that.
That's what I was
Get a
thinking,
report,
yeah.
our engineer would be there, give us a report on the geotech, and then talk about his bid documents for the project. So then you, at that point, you get a discussion on
Just,
which direction you want to go. in.
just so everybody's aware, those are five PM meetings, so if we need to change the time, let us know.
That's it.
6:30 start?
Mhm.
Well, we'd have to change our standing time, but
Mhm.
if people can't do the 5, and it's
I would,
better. at
I'd
the
find a
whole.
way.
Mhm.
Thank you.
thank you. Item E is discussion necessary action regarding bid award for geotech service related to Circle Crest Park water and sewer service.
So you have Puckle's report in here, they did get some bids. Our low bid is for Midwest. And it is for $8,669. Asking for your opinion.
Questions or comments, or is there a motion? on this?
This has to be done no matter if it's water or water and sewer. Either way.
This is a decimal point in what this is gonna cost on top of it.
Yeah,
This might be the cheapest bill on this.
Definitely less than something.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to award the bid to geotech services related to Circle Crest Park water / sewer service.
in the amount.
Oh, I'm sorry.
8,669.
They put it right on the
$8,669.
As stated.
I second.
Second by Linda. Any other discussion?
Mm-mm.
Can I ask for clarification on the name of the company?
Yes, Midwest. LLC.
How many other companies did Don get for an estimate? Just curious. Because one was really high at 13,350.
Yes. Yeah.
Don's
We-
got his hand raised. Can you
Good
unmute?
eve- Good evening. We sent it out, I believe, to 5 companies. We got 3 back.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You bet.
Right, motion's been made and seconded. You got your clarification, Mark? Yes. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries 5-0. Discussion on ordinance 2023-19, a policy for the special assessment payment deferment and interest.
Again, this is a no action item, that's just for discussion. We have some key issues that we need to get some feedback from the village board. So. The policy, one of the questions is you want the policy to be written to include road and street assessments. Right now, we don't do road and street assessments. Do you want the ordinance to remove those? I actually haven't removed them, but.
I'm not in favor of assessing the roads. Does anybody else?
Not either. We tried it once. It did not work well.
Oh, gosh.
Ask Doug about it.
Number two, how do you want to figure the special assessment by, the front footage? The same amount for each property. So per.
This one's,
What does that mean?
So it would be per foot, so if you own 300 feet on the road, it would be per foot, so for every foot, you would get charged so much. And if your neighbor has 25 feet, that he only gets charged for the 25 feet. So you're actually getting charged for the pipe itself, going past your house, that amount. Or the 25 and your 300 are paid the exact same.
In previous, when the other sewer went in years ago, the board at that time had decided that since everyone gets the same service, everyone pays the same. And so that's how it was done.
For their frontage?
No,
Is
they
that
didn't
what-
they didn't go on footage. It was just, everyone pays the same for the pipe. They all split it up. They all go together.
this is just for this area though. Or is this gonna be uniform for the whole
This is
village?
uniform.
Yeah,
So here's the problem.
I know.
Person buys, it's got 45 acres and that pipe has gotta go across 3 acres across their frontage. Then the person right next to them has got 1 acre.
Yeah.
Is it fair to ask that person to pay the same amount as the person who has the big acreage? In a subdivision, and in this subdivision, I think it makes sense, but in the grand scheme of things, one policy is tough on this one.
Or maybe we could have something in there if it goes over, whatever, I don't know.
I think if you're that 1 acre person next to that big acreage person and you're
I'd be, yeah,
same bill. I mean,
yeah,
it's a-
exactly. Cause I was just thinking always of subdivisions,
Yeah.
pie shaped lot,
And
not a pie shaped.
Most of the time, that's gonna be the case.
Yeah,
I mean, this subdivision was,
and then if they have, say if they have, their lots big enough that they can split off a lot. Then they have to pay the fees for that lot when they connect too, when they sell the lot. So there's a lot of things to think about.
If you do it by the frontage of the property. I would have, then everybody is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying that that's definitely the way you should go, I'm just saying that everybody pays what. If they own 300 feet on the road, they pay their 300 feet of pipe. And,
See, I disagree. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion. I disagree. And we should have some verbiage in there that if it's over a certain amount or it's subject to the board's acceptance or something like that. There's something that we could put in there that Attorney Macy could do.
What do you have as well?
As far as to say if it's over so many, like you were just saying, Joe, that if it's, couple of acres or something that goes down that road. I mean, we can have maybe some verbiage in there that's for interpretation or something that,
here's the thing. I mean, and I don't know if you can do that or not do that, but okay, I own this 40-acre parcel.
Mhm.
We put this pipe in and I pay the same as you do. Well, 15 years down the road, they break it off into subdivision. You're not billing them anymore.
Mhm.
That person just banked.
Well, there's always certain charges they have to pay.
Well, they'll pay
Yeah,
those,
but they're never gonna pay for the infrastructure.
but they're
Yeah,
never gonna pay,
yeah.
right, the infrastructure is not gonna be
Yeah.
costed to
I
that way.
mean, just, for example, you have a large. I don't wanna pick up farming fields here, but you have a large farming field abutting a subdivision. That may have access from the subdivision.
Yeah,
Say they pay 200 feet and they have 40 acres and
yeah,
now they wanna run sewer into that adjoining development down the road.
yeah,
Going to his point. Yeah, go ahead, charge me for new fees, but
yeah,
you're not gonna charge me for a new pipe because I already paid for it.
yeah.
John's got his hand raised.
Done?
What?
In the scenario you guys just brought up, I mean, you could do something where. Whatever, a person that's got 10 acres, they still get charged a flat fee for their residents. But there'd be a deferred special assessment for that vacant property, should they ever develop that. That they'd split it off and develop that, then at that point, when they go to connect, they'd pay that special assessment for. Whatever new portion is fronting that, you know what I mean?
How
That's what I
does,
was
but how does that help the other people?
Yeah, what happens if his frontage never changes?
What do you mean? Well, if it never changes, well, then he never. It would never, yeah, you would never,
No,
recoup
say-
it, but
say
if
the
he would try to develop it and make money. Based on the fact that now he has sewer in front of his house. At least you have the ability to go back and recoup. When you do a deferred special assessment, the village is kind of eating the cost up front to recoup it later. And you gotta play the admin on that too. I mean, somebody's gotta pay attention and remember that 15 years down the road when that happens, but.
That's so good at that so far.
None of us will be around. Oh.
But that is an option.
Not the rest of us.
Because you're right. I mean, somebody's gonna take advantage of that down the road without a
Yeah, they
doubt.
will. Okay, I guess I got some thinking to do then.
Well, then don't you put steps in it, like from 0 to 100 and I don't know, then you could kind of
Well, but.
parse it up by
Yeah.
amount or over
You
a
could-
certain
You
thing.
could
or-
do that, but you're still not eliminating the likelihood that a large parcel will divide down the road. And under the equal for everybody, they would never have to pay their equal later on.
The other end of this, if it is a farm field, that could break the farmer.
But we can have something written in the code that if it's a large parcel without, that is not. going
There's
to
no
be
home on
connected, would be deferred until after development. would happen. So that's what, that could help the farmers.
I don't know. I mean, usually if there's a farm field, we're not going across a large portion. I mean, we haven't yet, but. I could see a few places where it could happen, though.
Even if you had a double lot. And you put,
Mhm.
and it was able to be, now that you have it, now that you have a sewer, that it now can be subdivided. Just that lot is broken in. And you only paid the one charge, but now you broke that one. Lot that was an acre lot, but it sat sideways. And now they can split it into, two lots and they don't have to pay their assessment.
Mike, are you still on there? Mike?
Yeah, I'm here. And unmute myself.
Okay, just a quick question, because in the past, we've had, developed lots and they had to pay the going rate, correct? And
Well,
we-
if you look at it, if someone develops a lot, they're putting sewer in for the new lots that they're developing. The real issue is the connection of the development to the interceptor. And that's where the interceptor fees have come in, where that if somebody's new is developing a lot that's going to use the interceptor, even though this is 10 years after the interceptor went in, they're going to pay that interceptor fee. And that goes to the utility. To go forward, so. It really comes down to when you set this up. It's the cost of getting the sewer user connected to the treatment plant. So if you're connecting a subdivision and the sewer is out on the highway and all you're doing is running the pipe into the subdivision, the cost is going to be the pipe along the frontage that you're laying. And if it's a farm field, then later on they develop it and they put houses in there. There's going to be roads put in and there'll be frontage along the road and there'll be a pipe put in that road so that they can get connected to the existing sewer.
Sure. See, now like our personal house, us and the people across Kenny Corners from us, it only went on about maybe 10 feet onto our lot in front of our house. So we're on a pie shape, yeah, but we didn't have to pay for all of that. We all paid the same. If we were paying per foot, Rick and I would have been really cheap off, because it was only 10 feet. So there's so many variables to try to understand and work this in here to go by the per foot. I don't know.
Right, but we acknowledge that the way that subdivision was laid out, we would never do that now.
Okay. Yeah, where everybody's gonna pay.
Don, I'm starting to find favor to this deferred special assessment. One question I do have is it at the day of the pipe being laid? Is it at that price or do they, say it's a 20-year?
It's really up for you guys on how you want to set that policy.
I've seen it both ways in
Yeah, I
the
would say,
community.
what is is there a commonality or is it split or how do most people handle it?
I mean, most people put some type of factor to it. I mean, if it ends up being 15, 20 years down the road, you can't pay the cost of today. So yeah, I wish I could look one up for you, Mark, for sure. I just don't have a good example for you right now off the top of my head.
If I add in the cost of the borrowing to do it and then
Right, I guess that's what I'm thinking is.
And your admin cost of tracking this over the years, I mean, recouping that stuff's all gotta be figured in that for sure.
I think we had 10-year loans. When the first.
But so we were discussing this when we were doing the border agreement, we had those properties that were going over. There were some properties that had assessments on there since the early 80s.
And they added interest.
They did, they added
Yeah.
interest for those, but there were other properties that didn't have any interest. I think there were some
Exactly.
agreements that were made that they didn't.
Yeah.
Were those deferred though?
All of them were deferred, yeah.
Mhm. So
But
when
some
they
of
hooked
them
up
didn't
there-
have interest and some of them did have interest. I don't know what the reasoning behind it was, but
Don, so I know this is more of a financial question, but when would you defer the interest on a special assessment versus placing the interest on it as it goes year by year? I don't know if you're.
Well, I think you've got to decide what you want to do with it. I mean, when we look at the special assessment for the connectors, that assessment fee goes up every year based on a certain percentage. So it's always increasing. So if somebody waits 20 years to hook up, they're going to be paying substantially more than the people that paid at the very beginning.
But that's interceptor, we're talking the pipe.
Yeah, I'm not on the fee section, I'm on the infrastructure pipe part of it. And to Don. Do you know why some infrastructure grabs interest right from day one and some does not?
No, I don't.
Becky, do you remember with the border agreement, did that have something to do with why some of these people had assessments and some didn't?
No, I don't remember.
I think that might have been what it was though, because before if I remember correctly, like some of the properties on Maple Avenue, they were accruing interest, but that was before the 2000 border agreement was put into effect. Where the properties that got it after, I don't think we're getting interest, but I could be wrong. I don't have that sheet in front of me anymore.
We paid interest every year.
You weren't part of the border agreement though.
No, but when they hooked us up,
Mhm.
we paid over 10 years and it was,
You're pre-border agreement, actually, way
Yeah.
pre-border agreement.
yeah,
And these were properties that went into the village. 'Cause
Right.
We didn't have any deferred special assessment. This was diverse. for
exactly.
Properties going into Sussex.
But it wasn't deferred as it was interest paid regularly.
If,
Is that,
Scott could come back with a couple of examples for deferred, special assessments, and then I can also reach out to our auditor, which I'm gonna be reaching out to her anyway, and see if she has any thoughts on when we should.
Yeah, I mean, and even, I think Sussex would know too, why those properties were accruing and some were not.
yeah, that was
Which
strange.
is something we could look to our neighbors and find out what they do. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
No.
Mm-mm.
Maybe they missed it, and then they'll charge these people thousands of dollars of interest.
Okay,
So do we have, I guess, do we have a consensus on number two?
Footage or same free property.
I'm currently at footage.
I'll just-
Becky?
I don't know.
doesn't utility district decide that?
We're the board, we decided.
Yeah, I mean.
We go back to you, we recommend and you see.
We
Yeah.
put the
Right,
hammer
but
down.
we- But the thing that you guys asked me to put in were
Mhm.
these questions. So
Yep.
then when we brought it back to the board and we started working more
Yep.
so on the policy.
Yep.
That we kind of had some of these policy decisions made, so I'm not writing it
Twice over.
Yeah,
I'm sitting on frontage, footage, and I do like the deferred special assessment.
Mm.
I'm concurrent with Mark.
Don't buy a corner lot.
Well, I guess that-
That is the next thing.
That's where
We'll talk about that.
I'll place something.
sometimes they're on the front, they pay the full amount, on the side, they pay half the amount. Or whatever it is, I don't know.
Linda, where are you?
Oh,
Footage or?
Oh.
For everything?
I've always been the same price. With verbiage in there that to protect the community, if they subdivide or they do something, they have to go back and pay the original fees to do that.
Would, on that scenario though, that's where I think time matters, because I don't know what you paid. You connected in the nineties?
Yeah, so at 5,900.
Okay, so 5,900 is not 5,900 a day.
Oh, I know.
You know,
I'm just just to see these prices.
so even in your subdivision, there's a few vacant lots still. You're essentially saying that they go back and pay what you paid.
Yeah,
30
Mike
years ago.
works out the numbers and yeah, every year has to, whatever the current charge is, plus they had to pay for the interceptor and all this other stuff.
We're talking the piping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not talking,
Throw the interceptor fee, throw the plant fee,
Out,
throw the
yeah.
connection fees.
Yeah,
I'm
Those
talking
are
about
here.
the snapshot of pipe in front of your
Yeah.
house.
yeah. Well, I've always been, just because that's what they've done. And it doesn't mean it has to go that way. I just need to do some thinking. I need to think about it more.
Well,
I think I would go with footage.
Right. Then number 3 is corner lots, how to calculate corner lots, and what we have in here is for a corner lot. The two sides would be added together and then divided by 2. To get
I
there,
think that's reasonable.
so it's not, we're not taking the smallest, we're not taking the one that the pipe is coming off of.
Whatever
we're
you get to.
taking
Mhm.
the- Is everybody okay with that?
Paula,
So buy one, yeah, I'm okay with that.
How many lots are affected by that, by corner?
In the whole.
Ye-
village? I
ye-
don't know.
Yeah, no, in this particular over here, just curious. I'll look at this later to look at it.
Probably not
This is
many.
For the whole village.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
for the-
yeah.
There's
I
not
guess
gonna
I'm
be
okay with that, Kathy.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I thought of on this one, in sake of fairness, if you have a long skinny lot that's on the corner. You're gonna be paying substantially more than your long skinny neighbor next to you.
That you have.
Mhm.
But why though? You don't have an increase in property value. There's likelihood there's not gonna be 2 pipes, so.
But who's gonna pay for the pipe then in your?
well, this is if the pipe does go on.
Yeah,
It's only if the pipe goes on both.
yeah.
No, the way it's set up right now is that, so essentially if you have
Total
a corner
frontage.
lot. and the pipe only goes across your frontage, let's just use round numbers. If you have 100-foot frontage and your lot is 500 feet, let's do 600 feet
Deep.
deep on a corner, you're gonna pay for 100 plus 600, so 700 divided by 2.
Only if the pipe goes on both sides.
Right.
No, that's not the way it was at committee.
This is only where the pipe goes.
Not, and we're not talking about the lateral going to the house.
No,
We're
no.
talking about the pipe going
Right.
on both sides.
Yeah, if your house, like you're in a corner here, the road's here, there's a road here, if you run this pipe here, you run this pipe here. You get billed for both, but if the pipe goes here and goes across the street, you're not even worrying about this.
Yeah. there's
But
no
it's-
pipe going down.
No, I think that's not the way that.
Is that fair though, when you think about it? They all get the same service. They all get the
If
same
they-
hookup.
Where
If they
is
only
that
hook up
again?
on one,
It's the
on
next
one
page,
thing,
1B.
why do they have to pay for both if they're only using?
And it
The
says,
one
the water
pipe.
main is installed
agree with
on a corner line.
It should only get charged where the pipe is.
Yeah,
If the pipe goes both,
Right, but if the pipe is on both and they're only hooking up, say, this way, why do they have to pay for this way and
well,
this way?
you would take, if this is, you take the length of this, you'd add them together and divide it by 2. So it'd
Right.
just be the average.
so if your front where the pipe is 100 and your side is 600. 700 feet divided by 2 is 350.
But the pipe's gotta go on both.
No, that's not the way.
That's what it says.
No, it says where a water main is installed on a quarter lot. The front footage shall be determined by adding the 2 sides of the lots abutting the public right of way and dividing by 2. It does not say,
We'll change it to make it say that.
it does not say where the water main is installed on both the front and the sides.
But now, look at this though, on the side, you're not, because you're being hooked up in the front.
Yep.
Homeowner, okay, then it's gotta, if it has to go down the side, that homeowner on the corner is paying to run it down for their neighbor.
Right.
So which seems kind of not fair
But you're
either.
only paying for one side.
'Cause it's so.
You're dividing it by 2.
I know, but still, their front is 100,
Yeah,
and so they're paying 350 because it's 700.
so what about the guy that's in the very end that just needs it to come just a foot into his property?
Exactly. So
It's
he's
just-
paying for a foot,
Yeah.
unlike us, 10 feet
I
into
mean,
our
it's-
lot.
You could make it, you could make exceptions for everything.
Yeah,
Or I can put I'll try to write something in here that makes it real specific, but. that the,
215 and 80.
I know.
Water main, if the
'Cause
water
usually
main
they're
were
more-
installed.
they're
both
closer
the
together.
Front and the side, the corner line.
I know, I was
corner
looking
line,
at that.
front footage shall be determined by. And keep it. So if.
I feel
if
sorry for
the
that
pipe is
guy.
On both sides of that lot. Then it would be added together and divided. If it goes past the lot. Doesn't go up the other side, then it would just get the same amount as everybody else.
Why don't you check with Sussex or something? What do they do?
So what about this?
This is actually the city of Pewaukee.
Oh, really?
So. Who then pays for it? Say, we're just doing by frontage cost, okay? And under your scenario. When the sewer only runs on your frontage for 100 feet. You're gonna pay for that, right?
Just the front 100 feet.
Right. Well, no, you pay for 350. Cause
No.
the way this is set up,
I don't agree with this.
okay. Alright, so you're under the 100-foot. When then the sewer extends later down your 600-foot side, who pays for that?
Cause you're not hooking up to it, right?
Yeah, cause it's running down your side.
So you're advocating that they add it later?
But the policy doesn't address that. So, yeah, so say you're 100-foot. And they say they come from this way and never go this way, and they turn the corner and go this way. This guy's gonna pay, even though this is 100 feet,
Right,
he's gonna pay for 350 feet
right.
of frontage.
I don't agree with
Yeah.
that way.
But yeah, under the.
But
curve.
that's per foot.
But-
That's per foot, which
Yeah,
one?
so we have to have just the frontage.
I'm saying wherever the pipe's on, if you would run pipe on both frontages, hell, you run on all 3 frontages. I
Yep.
mean,
Okay.
there's
so-
always
so say
scenarios
they-
for everything.
Yeah, so say they run it just on this 100-foot front. You're
Right.
saying that he only gets charged for he or she only gets charged for the 100-foot. When the village decides to go down this side and maybe
Who pays for it?
hit these people down here,
Yeah.
who's paying for this side?
Yeah.
Then make a policy for it. I don't
Yeah.
care. Figure out a policy. let's figure out a policy that if all of a sudden there's an agricultural site there that we have to go around, that we're gonna do circles in the property too, and then let's figure out a policy for if all of a sudden there's a national monument there. I mean, at some point, there's obviously gotta be planning involved. But if somebody's developing a subdivision behind there, you make the subdivision pay for it. I don't know. I mean, you can't have a policy for every single thing that's ever gonna happen. Now, your scenario is probably the most likely out of anything I just said there, but. Don's got his hand up anyway. Head it up.
That's kind of the intent of this corner lot exemption is the fact, the example that Mark brought up is. One project, the person gets dinged in the front with the assessment and 5 years later they could get dinged again on the side. So they catch a break on both sides. You know what I mean? Because they have that possibility of that happening. In this scenario, if we were to run sewer, I mean, yeah, they're gonna get, them corner lots are gonna get nailed on both sides. As part of this, depending on which way you go with it, I mean, they're gonna have sewer on both sides. In
But if
this
they-
scenario.
But if they were to run that down the long end now, you're still only paying the difference between the two. Under the scenario we talked
Yeah,
about.
I mean, if you look in Circle
Yeah.
Crest, there's 4 lots that are gonna have huge objections.
Right, but I'm saying, so like, let's say your scenario happens, I think it's kind of, I mean, I can see it happening with farm fields behind you at some properties.
They couldn't just go.
It wouldn't even have to be a corner lot, to be honest,
And
you could
there's
go
a
right down the
section.
center of any lot at that
They
point.
don't pay a flat rate.
So let's
See,
hear
It's a tough problem.
example.
Yeah, it
So
is.
we're putting the pipe
Unless we
down,
had a minimum.
the
I don't
six
know how
hundred
that
foot
would. Yeah.
side and not the 100 foot side.
Yeah.
And that guy goes, wait, I wanna take both sides and
Yeah.
add it together and subtract it, cause now I only pay 350.
Yeah, it's just not, I don't think we're gonna come up with anything.
Yeah,
perfect.
exactly. Exactly.
We'll work on it.
But it doesn't have to be a corner lot either for this to happen. There's areas. Where you could go right through, like you'd have to get an easement, but you could go right through the center of somebody's property, then what?
Oh, that caused a lot of problems.
See, here you go. So
Yeah,
now what's
could
the
happen.
policy on that?
That caused a lot of problems.
And I can imagine that's why you need policy.
Some people went in a culvert with the old, with the old engineer. Some people went to the back of the lots. It was a mess.
I mean, even
It's
in,
getting more and more.
I know. We're just saying, isn't there an easy solution
I'm
to
back going to
this?
7 meetings.
I mean, I just look in,
It might be 6 or 3 or 2 pretty. soon.
Yeah.
you know, you talk about cul-de-sacs too.
Oh, yeah.
Really, the pipe in a cul-de-sac is not circular. It's gonna be straight.
Right.
And just looking at,
Help you on that.
looking at the layout on Avon Court. I
Mhm.
mean, there's some really small frontages on the,
Yep.
on the.
What if the pipe goes straight down the center of the road, then what?
It likely will.
See, what we're doing then? Who's responsible then?
Mhm.
I mean, this is. You
We'll
ready
let
to
the
retire with
engineers
these guys?
talk about it. Hey, Don, we'll let you guys talk about it.
Okay,
It's going to your committee.
Oh, I know that, but recommending, you know, but I'm just saying,
I mean, there's got, other people have done this. I mean,
right,
It's,
gotta be an easy
you can't make
solution.
this so convoluted that nobody will ever understand it either.
Uh-huh.
We
Well,
already
yeah,
understand it.
I can bring examples of corner lot exemptions to the committee meeting. I can do that. I can bring a couple different ones.
Sounds like a good pass the buck moment right there.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Don.
All right, assessment due, do you want to allow transfer of property to family without assessments paid?
Say that again? Oops.
No, I don't. I guess there'd have to be some stipulations there, but
Yeah, I guess, I think this one spurs from Commissioner Everly put on there about how essentially you can keep passing without
ever paying for it.
without ever paying for it.
Well,
What if like somebody wills house to their kids?
I
Right.
mean, yeah, or you entrust it. It's entrusted at time of,
but is the committee's goal to have everyone hook up on a street? right? I mean,
It should
everybody
be.
is going to hook up. So who is going to not pay their assessment and transfer their property?
Well, isn't this, if
Right?
there's like a 10-year loan on it? So like, let's say you got your 10 years to pay it off.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Grandma
It's
dies the
not
first year.
assessment. All right.
Grandma dies the first year, do they still have 9 years to pay it, or do they have to pay it right away?
No, it's
9 years.
9 years. It's equal payments over 10 years, I
But-
believe.
But in here, it's, and did you already get to that?
We're on 4.
No, we're on 4.
We passed the buck on 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, Don's gonna bring in examples.
Okay, good. And then,
We thought you were-
an assessment due. Okay.
they
So
should
the
pay it.
transfer of land, the idea was that, should they have to, when they transfer the land, so right now, if you sell your land and you have an assessment, the assessment gets paid off.
Mhm.
If you, and the question is, when you're transferring the land to your son, does it have to be paid off at that?
No,
Yes,
No.
yes.
Arm
Oh,
wrestle.
yes.
because some families, I mean, if grandma leaves your house, if the assessment is big enough, that can cause you to not be able to take the house, you'd have to sell it just to pay the assessment. It's like. I don't think it should. I think if it's a family transfer, you should be able to just keep paying the assessment back on time.
How are we gonna prove family?
What?
How do we prove family?
Yeah, that gets very, there's something happening in the sewer district, I can tell you
Well,
about
it's
that.
if in the will.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, you leave your house to your son.
Well,
You're
we
gonna limit
can't
who it
get
can go
copies
to?
of
Right.
wills, that's personal
So now-
property.
Now, who do we define who that pool of people is?
Yeah,
Or is it corporation or is it,
Anybody that identifies. as who-
yeah, I mean,
I'm a tree.
I think the purpose of this is what is the line that we can draw?
yeah,
Because, you know,
lot
I
of
mean,
thinking.
I think you could make an argument who is a relative and who isn't. I mean, if it gets to the point where you're gonna be arguing about that, then,
Yeah,
you know.
Are we
I'm
talking
a-
immediate family only, though? Are we talking my cousins, aunts, brothers, roommates, second?
Family
No,
tree.
you're talking family.
yeah.
Family
But how
tree.
far back in family are we talking?
Well,
Mayflower.
But their cousin,
I mean, if you're getting a
Once
house for
removed.
free, you're
Yeah.
paying the assessment anyway.
Yeah,
You take a small loan out for it, you're paying it either way.
yeah,
I don't know.
that's
I just
just,
disagree with it.
It's a,
The fundamental fact of I just disagree with the idea of doing that. I just seen so many family farms get lost just because of that kind of thing. Because you couldn't, the kids couldn't afford to, pay the
but
taxes.
they're paying it either way.
Understood, but this way they, instead of paying $10,000 today, they're paying, $10,000 split up over whatever, 5 years left or whatever it is.
do we have other assessments that get paid upon sale?
we don't have any special.
no, there's, I think,
Well, all of our assessments, if we have any like outstanding things like for sewer that they haven't paid or professional fees that they haven't paid, we don't really have any other assessments. The garbage is adjusted during the closing.
But no large
Nothing.
assessments.
mm-mm.
What about meeting halfway in the sense of allowing for the original terms to be carried over into new ownership?
If it's family
Yeah,
or forever.
family.
For everybody.
I don't know. I think it's,
For anybody.
I think it's mincing if you have to have a staff member now examine somebody's family tree to
Yeah,
say,
exactly.
no, you're under the original terms, you get 9 more years, or nope, you gotta pay today. I think we just need that.
Make it for everybody then.
Right.
I'm down
Family,
with that.
friend, full, I don't know.
To keep it at the original, what the
So they
original
can-
owner was
they-
paid.
They can transfer.
Okay,
the-
I can-
That doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt the village, we're still
Sell
made
the
whole.
house,
Yeah.
They don't have to pay.
I can
the
understand that way.
They can transfer.
Yeah, I would do that then. Yeah.
I'm not saying, I'd say the terms.
So if they have 5 years left of the assessment, then the new owners take on 5 years.
Yeah,
I don't think any title company would do that. I bet you at closing, they'd say, no, you're paying.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't.
No, they won't.
Mhm.
Then how would you make it work with family then, if you can't do it that way?
The family's a gift. Wasn't it a gift?
Left in a will, yeah, I guess that would be the difference, yeah, and keep it with family.
So what if it's 3 kids now?
Let them fight it out.
Well, I mean, this is where I think you just,
No, if
I
they're going to-
100% know what you mean. I think that's, I
If
just.
they're
think
gonna
it's-
sell it, then they need to pay the assessment, because they're
Yes.
not going to keep it.
If they're gonna keep it in the
sell it.
family, then they,
But what if they'll say, okay, listen here now, are you gonna keep your property in the family and you're gonna hang on to it? Or are you gonna sell it? You know,
well, once they've taken over the payments,
Yeah.
then whatever they do with it, then that's the rules apply to them with whatever they do moving forward.
yeah.
It's not grandfathered into things.
Okay, so we know where Paul is. The transfers to family.
You sure?
What about the women?
I could go with that. As long as somebody pays it over time, like the original one did. I thought you were talking about dismissing it, but no,
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 no. it's
I'm
supposed to be
okay with
paid.
that.
I feel about it.
Uh-oh, look at his face over there. Okay, what do you
I get to ask.
What are you thinking, Mark?
I'm usually pretty definitive on, but I don't have enough knowledge of what the title company is going to do. And not that that's my biggest concern, but it does impact. Why make a policy that you can't hold up?
I will call the title company I work with. And talk to, and if you want me to, I could do that and let you know,
I mean, I guess it's more of a legal question.
yeah. Well, they run the
I don't
show.
wanna
but that-
reinvent the wheel. Somebody's gotta have pretty clear direction.
Okay,
I think it is. So this one is what, Pewaukee did, transfer property to an immediate family member, daughter, son, husband, wife, sister, brother, mother, father. Trust of the current owner, the state and current owner, or refinancing does not constitute a sale of property. So they made it for any sales, it has to be paid, but in this situation, for family members, that does not constitute a sale. So that would take care of your,
Oh, I would be okay with that.
mhm. Okay,
that's what you are.
okay. Interesting,
See, somebody up Pewaukee feels.
yeah.
Well, and the trust is one I was gonna bring up, is a trust technically a sale? You put it in a trust.
Put it in
I was gonna bring that one up.
If it's the original owner,
Trust of the current owner, state of the current owner, or refinancing does not constitute a sale.
a sale, yeah,
This is where it gets tough with trust, is what if, current owner and an additional owner, current owner with a son, and all, I mean, they would cover it if you added the son or daughter here.
So we'll leave it the way that Pewaukee has it.
Becky, where you at?
Yes.
Just care of that.
I'm not the way it is.
You're good with
yay,
it?
Mark.
He's good with that.
Yeah.
Becky tipped me.
That's right.
Becky stepping on his foot under the table.
Right.
Or kicking them.
If they want to pay in payments, and there may be one or two that want to pay the whole thing up front, but if they want to pay in payments. And the village is gonna bond for this, what do you want to do a 10-year, a 15-year, a 20-year? How much time do you want to give them to pay?
This is another one that has to be. You can't do it over the length of the loan or anything like that. It's gotta be,
No, it's got nothing to do with the mortgage.
I mean, you take a 20-year loan out on the infrastructure, but we're asking people to pay it back within 10 years. I
Yeah,
think that's
that's
crap.
silly.
But
Yeah.
on the other hand, if you ask them to pay it back, you take a 10-year loan,
Years and paying it off.
yeah. It's kind of I wish this one didn't have to be something that's,
Going bond, what is
Could
that?
tie
good-
it in, that.
Can you
just
do
say
that?
it. You could say it that way.
What's the going bond? how much does that cost?
Well, if you're gonna go out and bond for the money, instead of using money that's in the account.
I gotcha. Okay,
That's what we're talking about. So if
Okay.
you're gonna go out and bond, how many for all of the infrastructure?
yeah,
How long are you going to allow somebody to pay it back? So
Yeah.
what Joe was saying was if we're taking a bond for 10 years, then we should have them pay it back in 10. So then they're paying the bond.
Right.
Or, but, if we take it out for 20 years, then we would be able to do that as well. I think 10 years is the norm,
Yes,
but I know the prices have gone up
Oh.
quite a bit.
yes.
So people might not be able to pay $10,000.
Like this gentleman was talking, 900 and some dollars a month.
Like, well,
Well, he's
we don't
he was
know.
talking- He was talking about water bills.
Yeah.
And their quarterly bills, and I think he thinks that, if your quarterly bills are monthly, $150.
But there might be projects that, if it is 20, you know, a big project in 20 years, I'm not against that.
Mm-hmm.
So with the interest, so say it was a 15-year special assessment. And the bond was completed in 10. Would they just not pay interest in the last 5? Compounding interest would just drop off after 10?
Until they just, you could bank that money and keep paying the interest.
Yeah, so.
I mean, quite frankly, for me, I'd be like, if it was, let's say you took out a 10-year loan. And the people who hooked up right away, they had till the end of the loan, where the people hooked up in 5 years had to be the end of the loan.
But if you.
But nobody hooks up in
So
5
what-
years, it'd be a year.
What is if you consolidate or refinance a bond?
So I don't think, and so. I
Just
think
saying what
that-
if.
Another damn policy.
We've
Mark.
had it though. We've had it though.
Yeah,
but I
you're
think
right,
tying it
right.
to the bond might not be the best answer. I think you just need to decide what I don't think it makes a
Limit.
difference how we get the money.
Most
If we
communities
use
do
our
10
money
year.
in,
I do.
Just how we
It's what?
bond it doesn't make.
They
a
do 10
difference.
years.
Your policy should be across the board. Are you going to allow people to do 10, 15, or 20?
What kind of money are you talking about? Like how big of a loan is it? They're not gonna be huge loans, right? They're
Could be.
Oh,
Could
these
be.
are, these are a large amount of money.
like large,
Some-
how large?
The one was 44,000. There's some that are 30,000. There's some that's 52,000. So you talk about that over 10 years, that's a lot of money plus interest.
There was homes that were going into the village.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there was one, I think that was like 65 or $70,000.
Yeah,
And that was it would have been 10 years to pay it back.
yeah, but that's ridiculous.
That was a lot of frontage. That was 300+ feet of frontage.
Exactly.
That
But
was huge.
Is it gonna depend on what kind of interest rate, what interest rates are doing and
I think that's
such and?
very convoluted because. You could refinance your bond.
True.
Now you have to go back and recalculate everybody's.
Well, I was just saying the initial term of the bond.
Yeah.
Like you don't, if you refinance, you're not redoing it, but whatever the initial term was, but
Yeah,
We would pay whatever the interest is that you set in this ordinance.
And I mean, this isn't just.
but that's
big
the other one
bonds,
too,
this
is it's
small
like
too.
figuring in the interest.
But keep in mind that for every project, this is supposed to be more of a generic. And then for every project, it will be very specific, a resolution very specific
mhm,
to that project itself.
And
mhm.
we can change
Yeah.
per project if special circumstances allow.
Right.
So that's what I'd be good with is,
And that's a resolution that's done. This is supposed to be kind of on a general idea of what we're looking for.
I'd be in favor of
this
Do a
10 years.
resolution.
if
Yeah.
this isn't set in stone, like you could do something special if you need to, then I'm okay with 10 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me
me
too.
too.
I know 20 is a
20
lot.
is really
Yeah.
too long.
Now,
Could be
Billy, do you
for different
want
family
to,
members.
yeah, we can we
See,
can.
I'm in swinging distance.
Yeah.
There might be some people that would pay cash, okay? And there's some
Cash is
people
king.
that you have to hook up and pay and go sign up for the loan right away, because in a year or two, we're not gonna go to the bank and finance their loans anymore.
No,
think at
it's
the
right
initial-
at the beginning.
Yes,
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
because we've
You
had
gotta
people
pay
say,
the-
well, can you finance us? I'm going, oh, no, we're not a bank anymore, you know?
To finance their laterals. No, we don't deal
Yeah.
with their laterals.
No, just a
We deal
regular,
with our-
the cost. They wanted to, no, we can't. You have to decide on your end.
So, the next question we have is a standby charge. So we currently have a standby charge. And we should probably discuss
What does that mean?
so if they decide they're
Where's
not
that?
going to, they're not going to connect right away, they're gonna wait for their year to connect. They pay a standby charge.
They have 1 year per
So-
state law, it's 1 year to hook up to sewer.
Um,
I don't know about water.
Mike? Can you explain standby better than I did? And I don't remember what our standby was.
So the standby came that if the sanitary code said you had to hook up within 12 months of the pipe being commissioned. And that if you didn't hook up, then there would be a standby charge, which really was an economic penalty to encourage people to hook up. So it was only there to provide an economic incentive for people to comply.
How much was a standby charge?
I don't remember what it was, but it was a pretty hefty amount.
So it's, the village may impose a standby charge for an amount equal to 150% of the monthly service charge, which is payable monthly.
And what's the much of the service charge?
$150.
So it'd be like,
Per month or
Per month?
That's a quarter, so,
It, for,
Per
for-
quarter.
yeah, so.
Yeah. So it would be.
The idea is to get them to 300. They're paying the quarter. So do you want to stay with the same verbiage as we had in our past, passed on the standby charge?
there should be a charge.
I'm fine with that.
But now this is to run the laterals, right?
Well,
No, to
this is,
hook up.
it's the hook, you have to be hooked up, otherwise you get a standby charge. So kind
Well,
of.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
If you don't hook up, it's not talking about the laterals in the road or
There's no
whatever they're
lateral.
called, the pipe
So
in the road.
Pipes already in the road. You have
Okay,
1 year to hook up, and until you hook up, you get.
you pay this fee.
surcharge.
Okay,
See, now I think when we paid for our lateral, I think it cost around $4,800 to hook up from the road into our house.
I know.
Yeah, as I said, it's gonna be really expensive now.
Mike, is there exclusions to that 12 month?
No, there other than the fact that people had escaped it in the past. That's where we had this whole issue of determining these properties that should have been hooked up that weren't.
Mhm.
But you know, if you're putting the pipe in, you know the pipe is there, you set the situation in place. And while you're on that topic, there is a section of Wisconsin statute that deals with special assessments and interest rates. You got to comply with that part of the state statute.
So in this code, I read you the code, our code. But the code that we're looking at here does not give a percent. It just says a ready to serve standby charge shall be assessed on a quarterly basis after public utility has become available. Public utility service shall be deemed available when the utility has been installed in a public right of way adjoining to the property and the construction contract has been substantially completed. Substantial completion will be deemed to have occurred when the system has been installed and has been tested and that's when we start the service charge. But if they don't put that fee in the code.
Do they dig laterals in the winter?
Well,
so there's another list with that fee on it? Is that what?
I would guess that. all the
Okay.
fees would be on here.
Well, that's what I'm wondering is like, if we complete the project in October and they can't possibly get it in before spring. Do they get charged that standby fee then?
Well, they have a year, right?
You have a year,
It could be
it
for the
goes
next
after the
October.
year.
No, this is,
No.
this is during that year.
As soon as it's.
Oh, it's a
tested,
calendar year?
When it's
This is
ready.
inside the year.
Yeah.
I thought it was you have 1 year to hook up. If you don't, then you get charged.
Well, then
No.
you get told you're hooking up or we're
No,
gonna
then
make you
you-
hook up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I guess when. I know this is a blanket, but I guess you think about. You just go to Circle Crest, and I don't know if it would hit, I'm guessing his statement's true. If somebody scrapes in a mount system and pays for that in let's just say 2022. And then now we go and rip up the road. Does he have to now abandon his newly created private system and then connect to ours? I mean, it's somewhat tied to this.
I think, remember, and the attorney can double check this. That if they have a new system, just before, sewer comes in. They get the sewer, but they don't have to pay for it. Please double check with, ask them about that, if it's a new system.
So when we had, we don't have sewer, but we have water, and so if you just put in a new well. I'm sorry, we have sewer, we don't have water. So when we just put in a septic tank, then we got, so if we put a septic tank in 2 years ago.
Yeah, you got
We
credit,
got a credit.
Yeah.
For that toward, so we didn't have to pay it.
but it's a newer system, not the,
It's a new system.
yeah,
So that was the way that they got. The people that were complaining that, hey, I just put in a new system,
yeah.
cost me $18,000, and now you want me to pay another, $40,000 for this system? And then a portion of that got taken off.
Mhm. And how that works in there in the cost for everybody, I have no idea.
And they did a percentage, they did like, if it was more than 5 years, you're out of
No,
luck. But
yeah.
At 5 years, you got so much, then 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, and if you just did it. So it was a percentage of what that was, what you paid to get that.
And it's something about a 200-foot lateral too, you can get help if it's more than 200 feet. This is just,
That was.
Well, I think, yeah, I guess I go back to the border agreement. They were talking about some of those properties that
houses are way back,
were moving from Lisbon to Sussex that were way far off the road, and
yeah,
They just didn't get.
yeah.
Well, the village had to make a finding that it was available. And they did not make a finding it was available in some
This
instances,
was too far.
right? And they found that if it was over so many foot,
They wouldn't know
They-
that footage was.
right?
Yeah.
I don't think they knew.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay, so, standby charge, yes.
yes,
All right, so those were the questions I had to,
do we have a consensus? on
I-
that?
oh, I'm
I,
sorry, I'm sorry.
I don't
I don't think we do.
know.
No, I apologize.
I personally don't think I'm in favor of it, to be honest with you. I think there's too many variables.
For a standby charge.
Yeah.
I think it should be a year.
You mean after?
After a year.
Then you start paying.
You have to
Then-
be hooked up in a year though.
Yeah,
Yes,
so you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because we
Right.
take you to court and hook you up.
but in case there's mistakes out there like it happened last time, I don't know, it's for debate, if it's gonna be
Well, this
immediately.
this fee is from day 1 to day 365.
Mm.
This isn't after that. That would be a separate discussion.
Mike, what's your interpretation of that? Mike?
As far as the standby charge,
Yes, could that be imposed after the year the state says you have to hook up? Or is it just as soon as it's available in your front?
as it was read by Kathy, it would seem that it's as soon as the pipe on the street is commissioned,
Yeah,
that you have to pay that as a fee. It has nothing to do with the connection. It's just paying the cost of the utility. You're paying the service fee for treatment of sewage, even though you're not getting it. That's a financial incentive for people to hook up.
mhm. Okay.
I
So,
can't say I'm in favor of it right now because, what happens if you're in good faith trying to get that connection and you just can't get the
Wrong
contract?
time of year?
Yeah, but typically the person's gonna connect their lateral to the house the same time the pipe is going in, because the construction cost is less.
Right, what happens if they can't get a contractor to do the work?
Well, when they came through Menominee Falls, basically everybody would sign up with the company that was laying the pipe because they were given a deal.
Same one that goes down the whole road. Not the road pipe, but all the lateral.
Yeah, that's a personal decision. I don't wanna be a part of. That's their choice. If they wanna pay somebody, that's their choice. I don't wanna be part of that.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. Each of the homeowners had their choice, but the construction company that was putting the pipe in the street was really offering a bigger discount than anybody else.
And if they
If you
don't,
did it at the same time,
what happens if they don't?
Yeah, okay.
well, then you have to, you pay the price,
Right, so then they have to go find their own private contractor.
right?
And I guess we all know that that's not always the easiest thing to do. I guess I hate to be dinging somebody who's got good faith to get it done. And is going to get it done within the year, and now they're at the mercy of a contractor.
I agree.
What happens if they don't do their job? Then we go back after them after a year?
Well, we're going to court then.
Yeah. Yeah, but that gets to be
I
expensive
mean,
too.
I
just-
guess if we're gonna put a time on it. I would say maybe start it at 6 months.
Don't do it at all.
What?
I said, don't do it at all.
I think we're gonna, if we end up, I mean,
Give me a year.
What, okay, what about this? What happens if we put no fee on it, but they would owe in the arrears if they're not, they would get them charged the standby fee at year 1. Plus the action commenced to hook up.
like a penalty.
If they hook up between 0 and 12 months, if there is any fees that would have been charged, they are raised.
That's an idea.
Say that again. I'm sorry. Say that again.
So right now, day 0 and you hook up day 6, you're gonna pay 2 months. That's whatever, it's $300. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that $300 would be erased. It would be erased because you hooked up within the year.
4 days or 65.
If we said, if you go over a year, you have to pay a penalty of a monthly charge for the year of tax.
I just want to ensure that the people that are going to get it done and making a good try, and we all know the world is crazy right now with contractors.
Mhm.
I don't want those people getting,
I think the year is fine. Give them a year to hook like, is that what you're saying?
yeah, but if they didn't hook up within the year, then they owe
Then they
day
go
0 to day 364.
$150 times 12.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a
whatever
good
it
idea.
costs.
Mhm. That's what I thought in the beginning. That's fine. I think it's a lot to ask for it right away. Okay.
What are we doing?
It's like close.
Oops.
We're gonna punt.
I tried doing that in the first hour,
Did you? Didn't work, did it?
What is that?
punting.
Oh,
No, Mark is saying that you have a year,
And if you don't pay it, then you're gonna get fined.
and if you don't hook up within that year, then at the beginning of the next year, at the end of that year, you'll receive a bill for,
$1,800.
Okay. I can get behind that.
And assuming we're communicating this to them all along, like they'll understand what they're, yeah. I'm good.
Okay, so we can something more than that.
okay.
okay, we did. Mhm.
Item 11,
Mhm.
we'll wait till Linda comes back here. I'll read it off.
Oh,
We need Don and Mike to stick around.
No.
Well,
For the tax rate?
for Scott Street we do.
I get it. It's really just the legal.
We don't need Don.
Yeah, I see they're sitting there.
Go to sleep, Don. Okay, Mike,
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
you too.
Am I dismissed also?
We're flipping a coin.
I was gonna say, can we dismiss them, but call them in if needed?
Yeah, we even, it's just a legal matter. at this point.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna need them, but
Keep your phone on, Mike, if you don't mind, just in case we got a question, but otherwise we'll talk to you.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thanks. All right. Item 11, closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 parent 1 parent G for the purpose of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved, more specifically regarding possible litigation concerning failure to connect to Lisbon Sewer Service property located at North 82 West 22530 Scott Street, and pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 parent 1 parent E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session, more specifically regarding acquisition negotiations for future village hall property. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Yes.
Moved by Linda. Is there a second?
second,
Second by Mark. Roll call vote, please.
President Osterman,
Aye.
trustee Plotecker,
Thank you.
Aye.
trustee Moonen,
I.
trustee Beal,
Yes.
trustee Quinn.
Aye.
We're going to close session at 8:48, and our attorney will be present for the discussions with legal counsel. Present by phone.